Okay, we'd like to welcome everybody to the December meeting of the Templeton Community Preservation Committee. We have a quorum of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 members present in the room. We can start off with a review of the minutes from our last meeting. Our November meeting was canceled, so the prior meeting of October 12th, we have a set of minutes from Jessica here. And we'll give everybody a chance to remember or refresh to see if there's anything changes we needed to discuss or questions about it. Certainly looks thorough and complete to me.
Everybody's finished. I'll make a motion. We accept the minutes as written.
Second.
Okay, a motion made and seconded. Anybody else? Anybody else need some more time to review or to take a vote? Hearing none, we can just vote as a block, right? We're all here. All those in favor of accepting the minutes of October 12th, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? No. Approved. Thank you very much. Those will be posted. Next on the slate would be the admin update.
Since the November 9th CPC meeting was canceled, this is the first time we've all met since fall town meeting. So we will discuss the update on how that went tonight. Also an update for you from last time, which was the Affordable Housing Fund that was for 17,000 that, you all voted to close. The town accountant did officially close that and move that back into the housing bucket, and that was reflected. You guys should have got an email that you are invited to the fall boards meeting. That is on January 3rd, 2024 at 6:00 PM at the Senior Center. Something we should also talk about tonight is if you want to do your public informational hearing for January. If you do, then I will post your legal ads for you. Last year it was in December. So we're not far off.
Yeah, and so realistically, the sooner probably the better, because if anybody wanted to bring something forward that would go towards the annual town meeting, the time is short. So the next, the January meeting would be slated for January 11th.
Yep.
Essentially, what we would do is, we could, what did we do last time? We started with the needs analysis meeting and then rolled into a regular meeting. I think we still kept it at 7, or did we do?
I thought we did a half-hour roll.
Started at 6:30. I think that's the case. What do you guys want to do? That all sound reasonable?
We start at 6:30.
Does that sound okay to you, Candace? So provided the building's available, we will do it at 6:30 on January 11th.
Yep, I will double check with CCTV and make sure that everything is okay.
Yeah, and then we will post our regular meeting will be posted at 7. We could put a note that it, maybe the start may be later.
Okay,
What we
okay.
usually do, but
Okay.
if we have a wrapped discussion, we can,
Okay,
we can open and close that meeting and just
Got
keep
it.
going or something.
6:30 needs analysis meeting, 7:00 regular. Yeah, got it.
Okay,
Yes.
all right. Well, anything else?
I've been your administrative assistant now for a year now, and I just wanted to say thank you so much. I'm thoroughly enjoying working for CPC and hope you will continue to have me. And thank you all so much.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, thank you. And we also, as we're talking about the town meeting results, one of the big results is that Jessica was awarded one of the 3 Templeton Employees of the Year.
Thank
So
you.
that was very nice and appropriate.
Thank you.
So you're apparently doing good jobs.
So you'll keep me.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, we can't,
Happy to.
we have to vote your money next fiscal year. So you're good through June 30th.
Perfect.
Okay,
I'm good.
speaking of, you're good then?
Yeah, I'm good.
We'll go roll it right into the CPC finances. Jessica printed out, the availability of
Yep.
funds, et cetera.
The projects and buckets and all that. Or you have one that says,
Yeah.
yeah. This is the first thing you want to talk about.
Yeah, okay, so before we jump into that, I will make comment regarding the match from the state. So I didn't print the exact figure out, but I think it's somewhere around 177,000 that we would receive. We had estimated 250,000 based upon 100% match, but because of the reduced activity at the registry, blah, blah, blah. Since we're eligible for additional rounds of funding, it came out to be around 72%. We'll have that all nailed down at the next meeting. Basically, the first round of funding, I believe, was around 28% to all communities, and those that are the 3% are eligible for the rounds 2 and 3, and that's where ours bumped up to approximately 72%. So that's good, not as good as 100%, but that is that. And then they had a snafu of delivering the money. They sent at least one batch, which was confirmed by the town, and I don't know if the other funds were transferred by the state to our bank yet. So what Jessica handed was this estimate from Hale Signs. And this is to do a bronze plaque that is, as you all know, that for every, and here's it will actually be in bronze, not paper. So that's why it costs more than 12 cents. But essentially, we've gone through this process of evaluating and what has been done for projects. All projects need to be denoted by a sign indicating CPA funds were used. And since so many projects have come through this specific building, including the building itself, as well as the addition of the vault, the assessor's office had gotten in the past some, fireproof file cabinets. The town clerk has had records put onto digitized. And so we need to have a plaque. And then there's also all the volunteer work that has been done by the town here that also needs to be recognized. And so the select board also made and voted a motion to dedicate the building in the memory of Jeff Ritter, who was a well liked and respected town manager or administrative, whatever the title was then and now, who passed away, unfortunately, in October of 2014. So we've talked about this, and they need to put the plaque up, and we as a committee need to have projects recognized. So the discussion was about using some of our administrative budget to pay for this bronze plaque. And that's where we got the request for $2,844.32 to pay for that. That's what's on this estimate here. And would be coming from our administrative account, which has ample resources to cover this cost. You could see that we have $20,000 balance in there right now. And the encumbered cost for Jessica's continuing salary is only around 3,000 of that.
Correct.
So there's plenty of money there. The money needs to be come from somewhere. And so I'm hoping that you guys will see fit to approve this expenditure for this plaque, which has gone through different reviews and vetting. Will Spring, who is really a spearhead of the whole volunteer efforts, has reviewed the list to make sure people are recognized. And then all of our projects are listed in the boldface below.
Make a motion, we expend the dollar value of $2,844.32 from the administrative account. To pay for the sign.
Okay, and do we have a second on that?
I'll second.
Seconded by George. Any discussion?
Do we need to have anything additional to cover that amount, I guess, as a unexpected?
No, well, I'm sure the installation will be done by the DPW, so
Okay.
they've got enough in their wherewithal. So I think we'll just, they can.
This includes a post for mounting, so I don't know if it's gonna be mounted away from the building or on the building, but it says 8-foot post for mounting.
I don't know exactly where they decided to put it, but I think it's gonna be on the coming in on the walkway, yeah.
Okay.
When you come in, you see this bronze plaque, that's where. Okay, motion made and seconded. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll do a person by person vote, starting with Joanne.
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Dennis?
Yes.
I vote yes.
Yes.
Mike and Candace?
Yes.
Yes, so that's unanimous. Thank you very much. Okay. The next item is a re-review of this request for mileage of $86.03 from the admin budget. We had some discussion about this last month because that was above and beyond what we had actually allotted for that project from the, so we had expended all the funds. Now, in reviewing the agreement that the town had with the contractor, they did indicate the estimated cost that was equal to what was in our budget for the project, but they also had other language indicating that they could charge for mileage, et cetera. And so the $86.03 that's outstanding, and it's I think that we should just pay it and get it off the books.
Not worth that time.
Okay, so that would also come from the administrative budget.
That irks me.
Make a motion that we expend $86.03 from the administrative budget to cover the expense of Icon Architecture gas mileage.
Gas mileage.
Second.
Seconded, Joanne, any discussion? Dennis, would you like to express any opinions?
Well, I just feel that that was unexpected and an unnecessary expenditure charged by this company. And we need to probably remember that for the next time.
Duly noted. Any other comments or hearing none, we will do a vote, starting with Joanne,
Yes.
George,
Yes.
Dennis,
I'll abstain.
abstention, I'll vote yes, Mike,
Yes.
Candace,
I abstain.
2 abstentions, and 1, 2, 3, 4 yeses, so that will pass.
Pass.
Thank you very much. On a related note, I did get an email from the representative from the company asking if we had any updates as to what would be the process going forward, or if there was any interest. And so really, and I haven't responded to him. I wanted to go through that first. Let him know where he might get his $86, but really the project is complete as far as the CPC is concerned. And now the information is available for those who have the interest in seeing the project go forward to ruminate and digest and perhaps come back to us to propose a project. So really it would be in the MEMA hands or the select board's hands or whoever other interested parties to initiate a discussion with us, I believe, to go forward.
Well, I was gonna bring that up under new business, but Rich Curtis had sent me an email and he was wondering what the next steps were. So in this case, it would be up to Rich Curtis and the Emergency Management Group to sponsor next steps. So we kind of have to digest the report, right? And then decide. Here we had discussed breaking it into smaller bites, so it'd be more palatable for expenditure purposes. So, but that would be on emergency management to do that.
Yeah, and we're not saying that's upon them, we're more than happy to work with everybody, but we don't want to initiate it
Yeah.
unless an individual on the board wants to initiate it,
Yeah.
that's fine too. But that we want to make sure that we don't want to say, well, this is what we think should happen when it's not really not our building. Or our, and so coming to the needs analysis meeting would be good and
Yep.
appropriate for somebody who's available to talk or digest the thing, or a separate meeting could be held or come to another meeting. The likelihood that something would be prepared in time for our time frame for the annual town meeting is like February 27th or something like that. I forget what the date is that the select board wants to warrant.
What was the date? I'm sorry.
It's either, I don't know, one year, Justice, you had to send that out in the past. Is it the end of February or March? We have to have our warrants done, articles.
So that would be 2 CPC meetings between that. Right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And you could see, that would be, obviously the historic resources funds will be dramatically depleted, but we still have our unbudgeted reserve balance, which
Mhm.
presently is showing $237,000. There will be more money as the state money comes in, and then obviously every quarter we get an influx, as tax dollars come in.
Okay.
Okay, so that was that for that.
I'll take the action item on.
Okay, thank you. All right, this is where we were gonna talk about the matching available funds, but we just did. But we could talk about anything else we will be going into the current projects as well as then talking about the town meeting. But if there's any specific questions related to the finances, we can discuss those now. You can see now that Jessica has access to that, she, can update, and usually it's the buckets that we're most interested in knowing, like what's available for future projects.
These numbers are as of today or yesterday? or-
Yesterday.
Yeah. And so what we've seen is like, it trickles in, but then every quarter there's a bill.
Yeah, so the back shows your revenue breakdown. That shows your money coming in.
Oh, there's the 177.
Yeah, and that matches up too, because if you see the revenue is 287,000, whatever. And then on the front, the third line says actual revenue, 287,000. So that's the breakdown of how your money's coming in.
Oh, yeah.
Tax, penalties, blah, 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 all that stuff, state share. Oh. John, look at that. CPA state share.
Yeah, there it is, 177,000.
There you go. You just said that. There it is.
Yeah,
What's in there?
so obviously right now, after we at the fall town meeting, obviously, quite a bit more money was committed.
Yeah.
It's been new numbers created, are those, let's see.
So I added the buckets. That's why it says 307.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, so you'll see that there's the new 750 for the Ballfields school towards the bottom, and then there's the current ones up
Yep.
there halfway down. So those articles which were passed at this special town meeting, which include the rehab of Houghton Park, the master plan of Houghton Park,
Yep.
and the Ballfield School project.
Yep. Yep.
And do you mind if we just take that out of order and just talk about the fall town meeting right now, and then
Sure.
with the current projects?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so, as everybody knows, so the Ballfield School project, there was a little blurb out from the community coalition things indicating how Templeton has really stepped up, and a couple other communities are committing some funds for affordable housing, which is good. And they're still in the process of, trying to get all their money lined up so that, they can start breaking ground within a year or whatever. So the Houghton Park project went in, and I don't know when you will hear from that.
Already did.
Oh, yeah, how did it go?
We're being awarded the park grant.
Oh, great, wonderful.
Yeah, the selectmen just talked about it last night, so I guess I could publicly talk
Yep.
about it now. Because they brought it up last night, so. We had an idea when we first went the walkthrough, and as we progressed, we kind of knew, but we couldn't say anything. But yeah, so,
Great, and so as you see, if you look at the finances there, you'll see there's two line items for rehab Houghton Park.
Yes.
The 96,204 and the 41,230, and it's a 70% reimbursement. So the 96,204 that we've committed will be reimbursed when the project is complete.
correct.
So that's just money that's in limbo.
The
It's not
accountant
available.
made them two separate accounts for that reason, because they came from two different buckets, and one of them will be returned.
Yeah, so that's great. Congratulations.
And
Good
I think it's 2024 when we start the actual fiscal, yeah. I
Awesome.
think it's like in July or something. They start
Great,
working.
gives a
on it.
little time to start figuring
Yep.
it all out and getting quotes and
Yep.
all that other fun stuff.
Yeah, they gotta do the bid process.
And we
all
gotta
that.
thank Jackie McNally for pulling that together,
Yeah.
And everybody,
and everybody else.
all the different, and then, Graceland cleaning it up at the
Yes,
end.
she did.
Yeah,
That's right. Yep. So that's wonderful. That's good. And then the other article was the master plan of Houghton Park was also approved. So we can start talking to Adam about procuring that. And that would be helpful probably to hire that person or firm. And, obviously they need to know about the project and
Yeah.
how that's all gonna.
but with the heroes part and all that, we really need someone to.
Yep.
People to understand that, like, why do you need it after the fact? I'm like, cause we have Heroes Park and we still have a ball field.
Yeah, and then we have parking and we have two parcels and. blah.
Well, the project for Houghton Park includes the parking lot. The parking lot will be resurfaced.
Oh, great. Yeah, that's great.
Awesome.
Yeah,
That's good.
so it's a swings. We're getting new swinging, playground equipment, new instead of the little pebbles and stuff, we'll have the bark mulch, and then we have the resurfacing in the parking lot. So that's 2 big ticket items for the
Yeah,
town
It's
to
awesome.
redo those things. And once you do that, the rest will start falling into place. We just gotta find some more grant money and things to be
Awesome.
helpful.
Great, well, that's good news. So that was the fall town meeting. Anybody else?
Yeah, 2 weeks ago at the select board meeting, the Baldwinville Elementary School project had its designation agreement extended as well. So looks like they're going to every board and everything that they need to do to make sure that this
Moving
goes through.
forward.
Yeah, and they have a lot of support from the select board as well.
So it's just pending the approval for the
Yeah,
Yes,
so
they-
they are still waiting on the state for the big ticket
Yep,
items.
they have all their permitting through town. They have their conservation permitting and they have their, I forget what it's called. They went through a big permitting process with the ZBA for everything too. Comprehensive permitting.
yeah.
Yep. So they've got all their permitting. They're just. waiting
And
for the money.
that helps the state, make their decisions, them, because it's less local work to do.
Yep.
We don't have a date when that decision will be due.
I don't,
Mm.
no. No.
Whenever they feel like it. Okay, so that was the fall town meeting.
Yep.
So, now we'll go to current projects and we'll right back over here to, Candace. Because the Gilman Waite tennis pickleball court, as you all know, we went out to bid last year. It was like a blow out of the water bid. But we asked them to go back to bid and they went back to bid. I believe they only got 1 bid, 2 bids.
2, both came under, way under. One at 103 and one at 134 something. There was some things in those, but that's just a round estimate. The first one at the 103 something is the one we accepted, Parks and Rec, and the select board accepted as well. So they'll be notified and we hope in the spring they'll start breaking ground on that. But we do have the second bid too, which is nice. So they both came way under the first one that we all worried about. So it was the right decision as a board for us to, it was the right decision as the town and everybody to,
Absolutely.
yeah. So.
And
we
so
all made
that,
the right
that 103
decisions.
is both the court and the fence.
No, that 103 is just the court. So now we have the money for the fencing in there too.
Okay.
So, yeah. So that was the problem. The other one came at, what was it, 189
Yeah.
or something like that? And that was without the fencing. We
Because the
couldn't have-
project fund
yeah.
bucket has 139,500.
Yeah, we could have never did it because we didn't have the fencing money. This allows us, even with the 2 bids, it allows us to fencing. So as
It
long
leaves you
as
a
they,
little over 30,000.
we're hoping that the lower one
We'll
will
get a fence.
be the one that does it because it'll give us more,
It's awesome.
more money on the fencing end. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So we're excited about that.
That's great.
Yeah, and people worry. We are in an organization, we're in the Massachusetts Recreation and Park Association, and we get a lot of tips on how we're gonna preserve it. But we're hiring a laborer, and every season at the end, we'll take down the netting and store it in our connexes and stuff. Just like currently we have the baseball batting cage that was donated, and that was taken down during the winter, and it is actually stored in the concession stand right now. But that's what it is. We're responsible. We're hiring someone to make sure all these things will happen so that anything that we're doing, we will be taking care of it. There are some, we're getting some tips from other ones in the other communities in Massachusetts on what they do and how they protect the surfacing during the winter months. So,
That's
Do they
great.
put matting down or something or?
well, one thing is they don't let anybody just come in. They shut it, they lock it.
Yeah.
They feel like walking on it while it's going hot, cold and whatever is not good for
Ah.
the surface, is what we're finding, what the majority are now saying. Granted, the Parks and Rec Commission will have to vote as a board on what they choose to do. But we're getting a lot of good feedback and we're gonna watch them. Some of them have brand new ones this winter. So we get to watch how they do. And we're in this, we can ask them any questions throughout the state because we're in this like chat thing with all of them.
Cool.
So it's gonna be a lot of good information by having a membership like that for Parks and Rec for the town.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's great.
During that discussion about the surface for the tennis courts, was there any possibility of sealing some of the cracks in the back?
Yeah, so the, one of the experts, he didn't bid on this project. He did a lot of the Gardner ones for the city of Gardner. I talked to him personally. We talked about it because the pickleball was done in the 70s to early 80s. We age it in that ballpark, the material they used back in then. And because, they only give that so many, so many years. with the cracks and stuff to be able to seal it, we would never have been able to do that version of it. It was too far gone and too many years and too many decades in between in the material. So he said, no, nobody would touch it that way. You would have to resurface it. So, yeah, we did touch out to try to be fiscally responsible to see what would be the best bet. But it has been deemed in the neighborhood that people remember it as their child in the 70s, late 70s to early 80s. And that's why it's not really saying that someone didn't take care of it. It's really that old. I mean, you look at the ones at the tennis courts in the Mount. It's just age happens.
I remember playing basketball there with my son.
Yeah.
But I know it's in pretty rough shape now too.
Yeah, that one needs some cracking fill. One project at a time.
Yeah, you got a couple to worry about now, but certainly that's something for the future, especially now that we have a grant writer on staff. who
Yeah,
will
to look
some
for, yeah.
interesting grants.
Especially basketball courts, sometimes you can find some good ones on that. And that one, I believe that one, the crack on that one possibly could be fixed. We'll have to have a looked at.
Okay, so, thank you very much. The Baptist Common Cemetery project, some project progress has been made. Would
Yes.
you like to?
Sure. So myself and Mr. Andrews went down to determine that the siltation controls were installed. The ground was frozen. And so they're ready for a little bit of vegetation management and to take the few trees down that they need to. They're
Are they
good.
waiting for the ground to freeze to do the trees or?
They do because you have to have the machinery stable so it doesn't
Hmm.
dredge or impact the ground.
I better hope it gets colder than last year.
Yeah.
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 I didn't realize they could do that in the freezing like that. That's cool.
But I get some nice rain on.
So, conservation is very involved with DPW and, they're doing everything that they're supposed to do.
Great, so that progress is being made.
Yes,
Move on.
absolutely.
Okay, the next item listed is Stonebridge, and as everybody knows, there's been two projects voted for Stonebridge regarding, replacement. We had a study done,
Mm.
what are the options, and Stonebridge had to be, when it over flooded, it was determined by the water people of the state that the gap was too small for the potential hydrologic load with a big storm, which are, potentially coming more frequently. So the Stonebridge doesn't work, and those projects were voted to do a variety of different things, like a recreation area, a walking bridge. And then it was noted that the town had never formally discontinued the road and gone through that process, so the town administrator didn't feel it was appropriate to, take it down without having formally gone through the process. So at the fall town meeting, they did have an article informationally to seek opinion as to what the townspeople thought should happen. And there was some discussion, and the overall vote was in favor of keeping it as a bridge potential. Of course, that is a huge issue of
A
a,
motor vehicle bridge?
yeah,
Yeah.
don't discontinue it, but there was a narrow vote.
discontinue
It
it.
wasn't
Yeah.
a huge vote. And so the question is now is like, okay, because there was also comments about, oh, we should have a walking bridge over it. And then, so people aren't even aware that we could already do that. We have the money for that, but they still would have to go through the state process of discontinuing the road. So what they're asking us to do, this in the discussion back and forth with the town administrators, that perhaps we need to do a survey or to get more information rather than the 40 people that were at the one special town meeting versus the, 40 that voted for it 2 years ago or whatever, to try to get a more comprehensive approach to making the decision whether they're going to go through the process of discontinuing that road, abandoning the road, or whatever the language is.
Yeah.
I mean, another option could even be, okay, don't discontinue it, but we want a bridge for pedestrians in the meantime. And that possibly could be done, because there has been discussion with some of the abutters that they would perhaps provide access to some of their private land to do something like that as well.
My question is, I don't know if it's ever been thought about, but with all these girders that the state takes down, why couldn't some of those girders be brought here to put the bridge back up in place? I've never heard anybody say anything about doing this,
Okay.
and it would make it so you had both your walking and your driving bridge, and the road would stay the same.
So that bridge was never officially taken down by the town and it wasn't officially falling in by the town. Someone else took it upon
Oh, I know that.
themselves. Yeah.
I
And then the
took
people
off
on
it.
the other side of the bridge have had to live like that all this time. It is very inconvenient to the people who live on the other side of that
We're not
bridge.
here to discuss that right now. Yes.
When did the
Jessica.
bridge fall?
It didn't fall.
When did we have a bridge and now we don't have a bridge?
Somebody
What
took it
year?
In the
down.
last 5 years.
Okay.
Well, 5 years ago, yeah.
No, I
Pre-
thought it was longer
pre-COVID.
than that.
It was closed for a while, yeah. And then it was, for
I
2
feel
years
like
it was
it's
down
longer
until
than that.
it got some guy from Hubbardson to fix it for $800. But that was in the 90s or whatever. So it's been down before, but this latest downing.
Yeah, there's nothing there.
So the question is, if you could build the bridge and you could do all those practical things, but you have to do it to Mass DOT standards, which are much different than having a stone bridge. And so it will be a full-blown $2 million bridge. And so if the town decides, okay, we really want the bridge, well, guess what? It's at the bottom of the list of all the expenditures based upon, the availability of
Right.
funds. I mean, we can't even fix, the bridge in Otter River.
No.
Where is it commercially used on a regular basis? So yes, it could be, so we may even want to project a recreational bridge that is exclusive of the driving zone or something. like
The
that.
engineering study that was done, they offered 4 different options. I was here at the meeting when they did the review. They had cost estimates for each one of the options. Of course, that was several years ago, so I'm sure they're probably triple the estimate now. But is that available at the town website?
I'm not familiar with that.
We
That's
have
probably
copies
before
of
my
that.
time, but
We can,
could look.
we can dig it up.
I mean,
for it. It was about
The
1
people in town, you throw something out like that at town meeting, they didn't see the report, they don't know the options,
Yeah.
they don't know the costs, they don't know the legal impacts, the state would have to sign off on all this stuff. So the work is done, maybe it's just not available to everybody.
Hmm.
So we should look at getting
Okay.
that put at the town website, so people would be free to peruse the report. And then if they have any questions, they could ask questions.
Oh,
Right
how-
now, it's no
How old was the original bridge?
revolutionary. time.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
thought. It was historical. It was taken.
Significance.
Yeah, it should never have been taken.
Unfortunately,
Well made too.
because of the hydrology, they're not gonna let you put that short of a span over it, however practical it may be. And the fact that water was flowing over the top of it, and it wasn't taking the bridge out.
Right.
I mean, it could withstand the floods
Yeah.
because it's solid,
And-
but whatever, that point is whatever. So I think, I like what you're saying, Mike. And I think this could be part of the topic for discussion at the needs analysis meeting. Certainly those reports can be dug up and I'll work with you, Jessica,
Yep.
to get copies of those. Perhaps a summary of the bullet items and the projected cost. I think 1.2 or $1.4 million was to put it back, because we even talked about having a one-way bridge,
Yeah.
which is just about as.
They
expensive
did
as
a
two-way bridge.
vehicle, bridge that could handle 1 emergency vehicle. They did a replacement bridge that could handle 2-way traffic. They did a walking bridge and they did no bridge at all, opening it up. So
Wow.
4 different
Options.
options
Scenarios, yeah,
Wow.
and the costs associated, but that was 4 or 5
quite a
years
few
ago.
years ago.
Yeah, I mean, and the point was, you got an emergency with the fire trucks going back and forth. They get the one all the way around to get to the other side to get to the other place. And that was a bigger thing that people were concerned about. How are they gonna get fire trucks
Yeah.
across it anyhow? Well, they were able to get the small ones, but they never went any further with that. That's why I said, nobody ever brought up this project that I know of to get some of these big steel girders that the state basically throws away and bring a couple of them in and redo it.
Hmm.
Yeah, but you gotta go through the whole design
Oh,
process.
I
and-
know.
Yeah,
Y'all
That's the
engineered.
expensive part of the design process.
okay, so we're not gonna solve that problem tonight, but we'll certainly do some more work on it and
I have
getting
a
the
copy of that
information.
report if you can't come up with one, I have one.
Okay,
Great,
yeah,
thank you.
that's great. We need the
Super helpful.
electronic copy, because I know and then, the other project I wanted to mention was the Grange Hall that's going forward on finishing up the bathroom. They've got all their permits on display and, they still want to talk. We'll talk about that in the next item about what they're gonna do next, but that's ongoing as well. Are there any other current projects or any other comments that people wanted to talk about?
I was gonna bring up the emergency management, we already covered.
Okay, yeah, and so you'll
Yep.
jiggle the handle on that. Okay, so then we'll move to potential projects, and as we know, Grange Hall has already, or Narragansett Historical Society has already talked about their ADA lift access. And what we sent back to them is before we would be willing to even entertain a project is we need to know that it's viable with the access board, which requires the permission granted for their two-stage lift or is any?
Yeah, so I do have their application if any of you want to see it again, but the request was for $50,000. Yep, I said that word right. $50,000. And the last time you guys met before fall town meeting, you just voted not to proceed with it at this time until they got state approval for the lift. My update is that they are making progress with the access board. They did hire an architect for the lift application, and they would like to be considered by you again for the annual town meeting.
They don't have permission from the access board yet.
Not yet, but there's,
So it's gonna have to be a
Time with that, right?
simultaneous, I mean,
right,
it's until we say yay or nay to the warrant,
correct.
continue to discuss.
I don't think anything's changed to them. They haven't given us what we asked for.
And there's gonna have to be a revised, quotes and formal.
Yeah.
And, we don't wanna, that we need it to be fully compliant with whatever the state and federal regs are. And that's probably the finishing touch for the rehabilitation of that project, perhaps, as far as, CPA,
I doubt it.
as far as CPA. Okay, so that's another request that we will be getting and we'll talk to them as well.
Yep.
Otter Pool, Crotty, dam.
I have bad news.
Yes,
We were passed over for the funding for the dam removal. I suspected this after attending a couple of dam removal meetings, with the state and engineers. The state is really targeting high hazard dams. There is over 3,000 dams in Massachusetts, and they're going after the ones that pose a risk for flooding, or they're a cold water resource that's impounded. So, after listening at these meetings, I'm like, we're not gonna get the funding. There are other options that we could look into. I haven't had a chance to do that. It's unfortunate, but the good news is regionally, a lot of good things are going on with dam removal. We have the 1,000-acre swamp dam that's coming out. It was a water supply for the town of Athol that hasn't been used for years, now owned by the state. And then I just saw something recently that one was funded in Phillipston, out behind like Cycle Design, something out there. And that one was funded too. So regionally, a lot of good things are going on. Unfortunately, our little dam at the Otter Pool is really low priority. Even though it's been designated as cold water resource, upstream, there's culvert pipes. Downstream, there's another dam. So it's a very, short stretch and right. And it's not it's so decayed. The water is running through there. It's, it's not a hazard as far as flooding. So it's unfortunate. We'll look into possibly other options.
I was gonna add that it is unfortunate, but I think next time we have a wonderful grant writer in town that might be able to support us instead of all of us kind of putting our best foot forward and doing the best we possibly could have done. So we'll use her as a resource if another option comes up.
Right, and I believe there is a few other ways that, we can ask for funding. Whether or not it'd be full funding, I don't know. I have to explore that, at this
Yep.
point.
Yep.
So.
Well, thank you for the effort you've put in so far.
We'll keep plugging.
keep plugging away,
trying,
yeah.
It's just a.
If things
damn-
come up, I pass them along to you and
Right.
we'll
I
keep
mean,
our eyes
it's-
open
Yeah.
for opportunities.
Like I said, the state is just really going after these high hazard dams right
Yep.
now. You can't blame them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had a
So-
question. So that dam removal was part of a bigger project to find a reuse for that recreational area as a whole, wasn't it?
Yes, and just in
Right.
terms of a passive recreational
Right.
area.
Right.
Right.
Is there anything stopping us from proceeding with the other aspects of that recreational area? is the dam removal key to doing that?
Yes, because right now, and this is a giant liability for the town, that's a dangerous place out there. If people try to go across that spillway, that dam, it's all caving in. So what's gonna happen? Somebody's gonna get hurt, the town's gonna get sued, then something's gonna happen.
Is that town?
You know,
property out there?
unfortunately, that's, this is why I've been trying to get some kind of funding, because it is a very dangerous situation out
Yep.
there. And you have to allow access because it's conservation land. You cannot restrict it.
Yep.
So the town is really between a rock and a hard place.
Yep.
And I hope that never happens, that someone gets hurt, but it's dangerous over there.
Yep.
And you know how kids are.
Yep.
They're gonna try to jump across that spillway and they're gonna fall in there.
Yep.
With that being said, it's not a huge project, and it even is something we could consider if there were other funding sources, but it is something that the town could even bear the financial burden if they had assistance through the state for the permitting and all that other rigmarole,
Right.
rather than getting the money in addition. So we can continue to having the discussion, and if we came up with a dollar figure and it was something that was palatable to the townspeople from CPA, it could be funded. Now, we do have our new grant writer, and she's already been sending, oh, I saw about this funding or that, and then it just needs to be dispersed to the representative boards to see if it's something that there's a project that they could leverage. So that's really our mission, is to use CPA for part of the cost of anything, not all the cost if we can
Right.
avoid it.
Exactly.
And so even if it's a foundation or some other funding source rather than the Commonwealth to do the dam removal, then the Commonwealth's role could be, guidance and, all the paperwork,
Which will be extensive.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll just keep our ears on that one. It's good news
Okay.
about like the 1,000-acre swamp and all those other places that are gonna be reverting. So moving on, Dudley Road, Carrie's not here tonight, so nothing to speak about on that. And then Gilman Waite Ballfields, anything new you've got a lot on your
Yeah,
plate right now.
I brought it to Capitol, presented the Ballfields to Capitol.
Candace, would you like me to hand this out?
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah, let me see. Yeah, I don't know what she sent. So, we presented this to, Capitol. So what we're looking at in Gilman Waite is, there's some pictures, I believe. So there's, we have field 1, the fencing is bowing, and field 3, that needs to be replaced in Gilman Waite. If you look at field 2, the problem with field 2 is the fencing is in good shape, but it's too low. And so the balls are going over, which is dangerous to the spectators. So the recommendation of the fence company for that section in field 2, where the bleachers and stuff are, to go a little bit higher up. For field 1 and field 3, it's a whole replacement. Also on this price is also replacement ball field fencing for Houghton Park as well. So the one for, and I didn't have the breakdown because he had told me on the phone and I can't find my notes from it, but the small section on field 2 to raise it up, it was like $2,000 or $3,000 out of that money. The rest of the money is divided between the 3 replacement fencing, field 1, field 3, and Houghton Park. And Houghton Park, it's not all the fencing in that property, it's just the backstop and then the 2 side wings. We felt like since he was coming out, we might as well run down there and have him look at it. Well, so the I believe $65,000 would cover all of that fencing. He had, like I said, he had given me an idea and he said, this is on fair wage. And he talked about how he had a 4-man crew and you might not have a 4-man crew. So your number could be a little bit lower when time you got to that project. And he talked about, like if you, that they had been down there maybe 7 years ago, and they had given us this price before to the town, and they told them then that those particular ones needed to be replaced, that they were dangerous. Kids shouldn't be, like, kids are climbing on them, and this is a liability for the town. We had presented dugouts in field 1, field 3, and in the baseball field in, Gilman Waite. The baseball field on 1 and field 3 do not have proper dugouts. They don't have the, the traditional roofing situation. So when we have like any kind of tournaments or any big games going on for the middle school baseball team in the baseball field there, and for the 2 softball fields, they don't. We do have dugouts in field 2, proper one, and we have a dugout. It needs to be painted and a little bit rehab in Hooten Park, but believe it or not, it does have a roof dugout in Hooten Park. Dugouts are very needed when it comes to these sports. 1, because you have the aspects of the sun and cancer, and 2, you have the elements with rain and so forth, and what now we have is these old stump things with a bench sitting there. The one in the baseball field, it basically somebody added some fencing and kind of fenced it in so that they could just like be in this little area, but there's no real benching or anything like that, or no roofing for that, that the middle school uses for that.
Great. So we've got a pricing of 65,000 for fencing, doesn't include the dugout roofs.
Yeah, the dugout one is, it breaks down to about $60,000. It's about 9,000 something per dugout. So you're looking at 6 dugouts, which is gonna cost you about $60,000.
And how did the capital planning receive this?
Oh, they thought it was a good idea. The problem was, we just we didn't have the funds in the capital, in the free cash. It wasn't a project that, they were doing more of emergency type of things like the oil tanks and things like that. Shields, Brazil, I can't say the
Right,
word.
so in order to bring forward a project, this would be a perfect one to also bring to what's her name, Grace Lynn?
Graceland.
Yeah, I talked to
Grace
her.
Lynn, to see if she could find some leveraging things. If you look at our current bucket situation, we have $24,000 for open space, which is the primary,
Right.
recreation. We do have the undesignated fund balance, which is down at 237. So do you think that your committee is gonna wanna bring forward a request?
For at least one, to start with one, at least one, and one fencing, one dugout set, do one at a time. At least a minimum, that's why we got the quotes the way we did, so that we could be fiscally responsible. If we had to break it up, but we have to replace them. They're a liability to the town. It's gonna keep revenue coming in there for tournaments, because we don't have the, we're not competitive like other fields in the surrounding communities, because they're in bad shape.
Okay, anybody have any questions or comments for Candace on this? I think this is good work going forward. Certainly something that we'll be able to discuss again next month as we decide what articles we want to put forward.
Right.
I do want to keep us on a tight schedule here for the meeting tonight. We also want to, so thank you very much for
Yeah.
bringing this. And then we do want to mention the discussion that Jessica's had regarding the First Church of Templeton facade.
I saw David Hoodley yesterday, who said he is still actively working on the application and is aiming to be at the January CPC meeting to present it to you, but no update right now.
Okay, so they still are looking to go forward. That would likely be on the historic
Yes.
category
Yep.
as well, and not a small ticket item. And I think he had indicated that he's also exploring other financial
Yes.
avenues.
Yep.
So hopefully it'll be another leveraged project, and we'll look forward to letting him know, inviting him if he wants to come to the 6:30 session to talk about the needs.
Sure.
That's good, or to the regular meeting. So that's what we have listed for potential projects. The way we have been doing it is we kind of post them out there. I think we could also bring up whether there are any other potential projects that people could envision discussing next month or whatever. If not, we'll move on to the next section, which would be for individuals to make any comments about anything related to this. I don't have anything to add at this point. Anything anybody wants to bring up behind what we've already discussed? No, okay. And does that go for everybody in the audience and all right? Our next meeting is scheduled for January 11th. We'll have the 6:30 needs analysis meeting, and we will open the 7 o'clock meeting and then pause it or whatever we need to do to be compliant with whatever open meeting laws, et cetera.
Any questions from TV?
I can't read that far.
Can I ask a question?
There are no comments on YouTube at this time.
In the,
Thank you.
in the past, how was the CPC paid for the legal ad for the needs analysis meeting? Does that come out of the admin budget?
That comes out of the admin budget, so we probably should pre-approve that. It's
Oh, yeah.
we're required by statute to post it in the Gardner News for 2
Yep.
consecutive weeks.
Yep.
How much do we usually spend?
It'd probably be under $400, if I had to guess.
Oh my
Yeah, it's
God.
like $200 a read.
Yeah, I mean, I post legal ads for Concom all the time and they're usually around like $140 for
For a
1
paper,
week. So
So
if you
Garner
do-
News that,
I'd say it's probably
Yeah.
under
Yeah.
$400.
Circulation.
no one can even find the people that run it.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so, I mean, we have to make that expenditure, and so we'll pay the bill, we'll
Okay.
vote the bill,
Okay.
we'll commit to the money.
Thanks.
All right, if there's no other,
Do we have to do a vote on spending the money?
I'll give you a dollar amount once I have it,
Okay,
but I'm just telling you now, it'll probably be under
Okay.
$400.
okay, so, well, we can just as a,
let's
if
just,
we need a vote, say, I'll make a motion that we pay the posting bill for the
Okay.
Gardner News, whatever it would be.
Whatever it will be.
Unfortunately, it's required, it's
Nice.
the lowest number it can
second,
be.
yeah,
Made and seconded, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
aye,
Thanks,
there
team.
you go.
Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, Candace, it is now, yeah.
Yeah.
You could double their circulation. I'll buy one. Okay, if there's no other business to come before this board,
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Thank you.
is there a second?
I'm talking.
Motion made and seconded by George. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Hi.
Aye.